seeing the coverage play itself out. How's the tough catch by Shakir?
And then Allen, once again, he says, all right, I can't find anybody.
This is a cheat code. A quarterback that has this sort of explosion, physicality to run over Bolton and carry Cook into the end zone. He should be that fired up.
Bills win 30-21. Here's Josh Allen after the game with a little bit more, and he continues to do it all for the Bills. Sunday was the 30th time in his career that he's led the team in passing and rushing yards in a game. He passed Michael Vick for the fourth most games in NFL history. Only Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, and Randall Cunningham have more. Here's what he said about what the win means.
Means we got the 9 wins. I know it's from perception, outside perception, it's a really big game and what it means for both fan bases and the league. We're in week 11. You know, we're 9-2. Last time I checked, 9 wins probably doesn't get you in the playoffs. So, you know, going into this bye week, you get to enjoy ourselves a little bit, but coming back ready, you know, a hungry team and just trying to go 1-0.
You know, Mina, we like to be humble, but we did pick the Bills. I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
we did on
just
Friday.
the two of us. No one else on this
two.
show.
The ladies went with the Bills. How were they able to keep the Chiefs in check on Sunday?
They sort of out-chiefed the Chiefs on offense by stringing together these long, excruciating drives. So they possessed the football nearly 10 minutes longer than Kansas City, which may not sound like a lot from the outside, but that's the lowest time of possession the Chiefs have had this entire season. I think about a few of the drives. The one at the end of the first half, 12 plays, keeping the Chiefs from getting the ball back, kicking the field goal. Then the one at the end of the third quarter, again, 11 plays going into the fourth quarter. And then finally in the fourth quarter, 12 plays again. And to me, that speaks to the identity of the Bills' offense right now, which is it may not be as explosive, although they obviously hit the 2 to Amari Cooper, but it's efficient, it's successful, and it keeps the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands.
Also, in order to have these long drives, you have to find ways to extend the drive with winning on third down. And I thought that the Chiefs had a plan to go man-to-man in some of those situations, and the Bills knew exactly what they wanted to do and how they would be able to attack those sort of coverages on the back end from Steve Spagnuolo. And I love the way that they motioned into bunch. Here, you're going to see a motion from Shakir outside, and you have Curtis Samuel at number 3. He's working the combo coverage between Reed and Connor. He's able to out-leverage them, makes one guy miss, and gets the first down. And to me, this was one of the biggest plays of the game. You have 3rd and 9. You motion Samuel over, so now Shakir is at number 1. They're combo coveraging up top with Cook, and Cook is too far off to be able to break down into the inside. And what this did was, to me, it cleared the picture up for Josh Allen, and it made it difficult to pass off some of these routes.
That was like my biggest takeaway from the game when it comes to Kansas City's defense. I haven't seen a Spags defense that disconnected, that almost lacking the same wavelength communication-wise, because they got into it so much, and it felt like they were surprised by it.
I don't think they were surprised. I think, and Mina and I talked about this on the way over to the stadium, when you lose L'Jarius Sneed, I feel like you lost your best inside player and communicator in McDuffie, and now he's the outside player. And some of that continuity that you had there, you lose, and that's why you see some of this miscommunication.
It's so crazy. Legit, when I was talking to Mark, our producer, I said the first game I felt like L'Jarius Sneed was missed.
They missed him. You had some issue with the D-line play as well. Why?
Yeah, just the rushes were so selfish, and y'all know how I get about that. And you got to understand, first of all, situational football when it comes to Josh Allen. These are some examples of what you cannot do against number 17. One, Karlaftis here, he spins inside, but there's no attachment from this defensive line to cover him. Defensive tackle stays in too long. I love the fact that Josh didn't take off. He made a throw and a conscious effort. Look at all of these guys on the edges of their offensive linemen. You listen to any D-line coach, worst place to be, especially against an athletic quarterback. Josh, decisive decision-making, go up, get the yardage. This is the one that drove me absolutely insane. We're going to pause it here. This is the worst place you can be. 1 behind the quarterback, 3 on the same side, everybody on edges, no one down the middle, and it results in this touchdown. Here's what happened to Kansas City's defense. They got greedy. Chris Jones played a greedy football game. And it's hard for me to say that because Chris Jones wins on edges and sacks quarterbacks at the highest rate of any D tackle. It's hard to come on television and say that. This was one of those situations where it had to be ultimate communication, and I will play off of you, and I wish they would have put him on the outside of the line of scrimmage.
So the two fourth-quarter runs, I think, are the vintage Josh Allen ones. The third down, because when Josh sees man coverage, that first one we had that green circle, that green square, excuse me. When Josh sees man coverage, he knows the legs are the check down because it's man. It's a dead play. And then Marcus, the 4th and 2 one I find interesting because Kansas City wins the rep. I mean, they zone it off, and that's a man-beating concept. Is Chris Jones really in the wrong there? Because is it not like you're the closer, go make the play?
People have eyes on him behind him. It just didn't matter.
What do you mean?
For me, that's why it's so important to say it's hard for me to say that about Chris Jones. We've seen him close these games out.
Just go and make a play.
In this particular situation, though, that communication has to be everybody play off me. I'm going rogue. We used to do it all the time here with DeMarcus Ware.
Okay.
3rd and long, hey, you go get the quarterback.
Cover
me.
Make
you right. And I don't know why that communication didn't happen, but to your point about the back end, they were disjointed at the defensive line as well.
Because right when Josh puts his back foot in the ground, he's gone. Like he's that seam, it's gone.
Yeah.
I bet we'll see this matchup again maybe a couple more times.
It feels like
going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Let's go to the Ravens and the Steelers. This was one that we had circled. Should be super interesting. It turns out it was just that. Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson getting ready to go. We're going to go to the 4th quarter. The Ravens trailing 15-10. Jackson's pass intended for Justice Hill, Peyton Wilson rips the ball loose.
Peyton Wilson, who's actually a genetic freak, makes the play on this football. He gets his hand and he fights it all the way down to the ground. That's a huge play for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So the Steelers trying to capitalize. Wilson pitching it to Jalen Warren. He picks up the first down. So the Steelers now in field goal range. A few plays later, Chris Boswell nails the kick down the middle. Steelers now leading 18-10. Under 2 minutes to play. Jackson finds Hill on the screen pass here. He picks up 22 on the play.
This is Lamar making a play. It's 3rd and long. Justice Hill leaks out. Lamar hangs enough time. And that was like one of the first big plays that he was able to generate.
Making the comeback here, and it's all on the line.
That's his best play of the day right there.
Connecting there. Zay Flowers for the touchdown. They trail now just 18-16. So they're lining up for the 2-point attempt. And Jackson gets the snap, rolls to the left. He's got no one, tosses it, and then he's pulled down. Steelers end up winning this one 18-16.
I can think of 77 plays I'd call before I called that one. Great crack replaced by Joey Porter Jr.
Sunday was the second time the Steelers won this season when not scoring a touchdown, with the other coming in Week 1 against the Falcons. Pittsburgh, 2-0 this season when being held without a touchdown. The rest of the NFL, 2-19 in such games.
Crazy.
RC, I know. Sometimes
y'all think Derrick Henry should have been in on that 2-point play?
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
That could have been one of those, 57 other plays that you would have called.
77.
Yeah.
77.
You got a whole book of them.
No touchdowns, but Russ is able to pull it out. What did you like about the offense, RC?
Well, what I hated was obviously the interception in the end zone to Marlon Humphrey. Russ has to be better than that. But I thought the physicality in which the offense played with was encouraging. I thought Najee Harris ran the ball with a reckless abandon and intention to be physically violent when he got to the point of attack. And I think that set the tone for the entire day. And we've seen this team. You just read the stat, Laura. 2 games, they haven't scored touchdowns, but they've been able to win. And I think it's about style of play. They knew defensively they had a great plan for Lamar Jackson, but I feel like it was also about limiting his possessions. And if you can get a Najee Harris going, it gave them an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, the offense could be a good defense there. How specifically did the defense keep Lamar in check?
Well, I think you saw the difference philosophy defensive-wise. Like Baltimore, it was very clear. They were not going to give the big ball down the field. They played off. Sometimes they would play with those 2 safeties. Pittsburgh almost dared Baltimore. We dare you to throw the ball every play. We're going to play man coverage. We're going to line up. And I think they did an unbelievable job of that rush, almost opposite of Kansas City. No one getting behind Lamar. Everybody staying in front and plastering. The discipline that you have to have, I would imagine, defensively, of not going to after Lamar when he breaks outside of that pocket and trusting that this is my favorite rep of the game. Watch how the people on the back end, that second level, go after and then stop. No, wait. And not allowing Lamar to kind of put him or those defenders in that conflict of going after him.
I know Mina wants to talk. This reminded me so much of the Kansas City game, though.
In the
3rd and
playoffs?
11 you showed the first time. Take off, Lamar.
Multiple times.
Multiple times he had chances to take off because they were saying we are not going to come out of coverage because we've seen you burn people this year. Josh Allen, when he stuck his foot in the ground, he said, I'm going to be the best athlete on the field.
But why does it get to that
Lamar
point?
Jackson, go be the best athlete on the field. It's when he plays his biggest team rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and his biggest individual rival, Patrick Mahomes, that he stops being Lamar Jackson.
It reminded me so much in the Chiefs game, too, in which you watch and you feel like he's hunting big plays downfield. And there's this kind of continuity. Now, I will say some of that was obviously because of down and distance, because the Steelers are really good on early downs. And some of it is what you alluded to, which is the coverage. You know, going into this game, I remember last week against Washington when Pittsburgh played them, I said, this defense is very good against scrambling quarterbacks. They are disciplined with their rush lanes. However, my concern this week was, okay, when Lamar holds onto the ball and extends, don't get grabby downfield. You're playing man coverage. Joey Porter Jr., you've been fantastic this year. But if you get grabby, then you're going to get some bad calls. You can make you pay for it. He was 1 for 6 when he held onto the ball for more than 4 seconds. That's a coverage stat to me. I was so impressed with this secondary. I mean, Joey Porter Jr., one of the best young man corners in football. I think they are sort of almost – we talk so much about the Steelers' front that we forget a lot of what they're doing up front is enabled by the coverage on the back end.
I love the way they tie it together. Like, right, we know we got elite rushers up front. Let's play aggressive on the back end because most of the time, quarterback is not going to have time and be forced to make a throw. To me, this was missed opportunities. I give the Steelers all the credit in the world. But when you look at the Baltimore Ravens and the plays that were out there, y'all made mention of Lamar using his legs. I got a 3-play sequence that they get no points out of that should have been 2 touchdowns before a field goal was missed. This Deontay Johnson throw, this should have been a touchdown. You look at Zay Flowers coming out of the slot. This is a win. This is a win in the NFL. That's supposed to be a touchdown. And then Tuck misses a field goal.
He's broken.
This situation for me, when you talk about a 2-point game, and you miss 3 opportunities and you get 0 points out of it matters.
But that was Pittsburgh lining up almost on a play-by-play basis and saying, we can cover you.
But Dan, they didn't have them covered. You got
Those are tough throws, though, Marcus. Like you're saying you got to make a perfect throw essentially.
Well, if we gonna wax poetic about you being the MVP of the league, and we talk about being explosive in Super Bowl contenders, those are the plays you got to make. I think that Zay Flowers throw, Lamar makes that 8 out of 10 times. That was 2 of them that you just didn't make. But the sequence itself, where you get 0 points out of it, where opportunities to make plays, I think hindered them.
2 called quarterback runs, both were explosive runs. We only called 2. That's a problem.
Don't get me started on
call
the
more.
run game.
Hey, we're going to talk about this game a little bit more later on the show. A reminder, we're with you until 5 p.m. Let's get Adam Shefter in here for some top stories. Adam, the Jags lost 52-6 to the Lions yesterday. What are you hearing about potential changes there?
Well, Laura, it was the worst loss in franchise history, and so far today it has been business as usual. Doug Peterson met with members of the media, said that Gabe Davis, the wide receiver, is out for the season, and carried on a press conference as if he will continue coaching the team. But everybody believes that change is in the air. The Jaguars are on their bye week. It's just that nothing has transpired as of right now. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions lost yet another defensive stalwart yesterday. Alex Anzalone broke his forearm, going to miss 6 to 8 weeks, which means essentially he's done for the remainder of the regular season, and the Lions will hope to get him back for the postseason. We already know they're without Marcus Davenport, they're without Aiden Hutchinson, and now they're without Alex Anzalone. It's just that nothing. And in New York, the Giants benched Daniel Jones and inserted Tommy DeVito into the starting lineup, bypassing Drew Lock, who now becomes the number 2 quarterback behind DeVito, which means that Daniel Jones is now the number 3 quarterback in New York. The Giants clearly do not want to expose him when he's got a $23 million injury guarantee due after the season for a quarterback who's had knee issues, neck issues. They do not want him out there on the field, and by putting him on the bench now and making him the number 3 quarterback, they essentially are ending his time in New York. Unofficially, it is time for Tommy Chicken Cutlets DeVito to make his Giants start this season against Tampa on Sunday at MetLife Stadium.
Adam, I'm glad you got Cutlets in there. More news from Adam throughout the show. Dan, just what is your reaction?
Something, Laura.
What?
He's talking about all these injuries and issues. What about I can't play quarterback issue?
Well, so
that's the one that got him.
that's
benched.
the one that probably affected this decision.
Bam!
He was
Dan, I mean, they're done with him now, right?
Of course, yeah. I think the biggest question for the Giants from this moment moving forward is who do we want overseeing Malik Neighbors' career? Malik Neighbors is a star. So is it going to be Brian Dable and Joe Shane? And if it's going to be them, they've got to find a quarterback to maximize Neighbors over the next couple of years, because I'm telling everybody, Neighbors has got ability to have an impact on games like Jamar Chase, and I know that is very, very big praise of Justin Jefferson.
He does.
So
He does,
that's
though.
the biggest thing for that organization moving forward.
Be interesting to see the draft. The draft not as strong of a quarterback draft potentially this year as it was last year, and that may affect their decision-making as well. We're just getting started on NFL Live. So much more coming your way live from AT&T Stadium. The Cowboys season has been a disaster. It could get even worse tonight. We've got a live report from Lisa Salters ahead of this Monday night matchup. Everything you need to know about the Cowboys and some of the injury issues they're having as well. Plus, Anthony Richardson led the Colts to a big win over the Jets on Sunday. Dan explains why this performance could be a turning point for the young quarterback's career. NFL Live is brought to you by the Hulu original series. 11 comes to a close in just a couple hours as the Texans and Cowboys go head-to-head on Monday Night Football, 8 Eastern on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Deportes. Peyton and Eli once again on ESPN2. They're joined by Bill Belichick and J.J. Watt. Lisa Salters on the broadcast tonight, as always, and she joins us now. Lisa, 18 Cowboys on the injury report, including the late add of C.D. Lamb. What do we know about his status tonight?
Yeah, Laura, well, the hits just keep coming for Dallas. They're already without quarterback Dak Prescott for the rest of the season. And just 2 days ago, star receiver C.D. Lamb was added to the injury report because of a back issue. And he is questionable for this game. Now, Mike McCarthy has said that he's not overly concerned about the injury, and he believes that C.D. will be available tonight. But it's just one more thing to worry about. And what has to this point been a disastrous season for the Cowboys. Not only are they winless at home, something they have in common with the New York Giants, but they've been getting destroyed here at AT&T Stadium, outscored by 94 points in their own building. In fact, the last time the Cowboys offense scored a touchdown here at home was in the fourth quarter of their loss to the Ravens back in week 3. Linebacker Micah Parsons, who had 2 sacks and a forced fumble last week in his return from a high ankle sprain, has been the lone bright spot for Dallas so far this season when he's healthy. He leads the team in quarterback pressures despite missing 4 games, and his 4.2 pressures a game are second in the league. Micah told me that since Dak Prescott went down, he's taken it upon himself to assume the leadership role of this team, and has told the defense that moving forward throughout this darkness, the defense has got to be the light. Something has to be the light, Laura, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my goodness. Lisa, some of those numbers just make you scratch your head. It's just crazy. We'll see you tonight on the game, and can't wait for that. All right, for more on this game, let's build out a same-game parlay presented by ESPN Bet. And today we turn to RC for this. Ryan, over under 79.5 receiving yards for Nico Collins in his return from injury tonight.
Hey, I do know because it's over, because I talked to CJ last night, and I know how excited he is to have Nico Collins back. Obviously, this guy's a true number 1. He was a stalwart last year, became a star early on this season, and I think this can alleviate some of the pressure CJ's been feeling from a leaky offensive line.
Yeah, Nico told me he is 100%. There's no limitations tonight. All right, Cooper Rush has yet to throw an interception since
he gonna throw one tonight.
He is.
He gonna learn today.
He gave that one away.
He is gonna learn today. And also, too, you look at this team, the one thing they can do on the back end is play the football, especially some of these youngsters. When you think of Stingley, Lassiter, also Kalen Bullock at the safety position, and Jalen Petrie in the slot. I expect them to put pressure on Cooper Rush, and I think we'll see Trey Lance unless he is truly the most awful quarterback ever drafted.
I think we'll see Trey Lance tonight, too. It seems like it based on talking to the teams. All right, give us someone you think will score a touchdown tonight.
I think it's Joe Mixon. When you look at this team, he is the tone setter. He's the guy, especially within the red zone, that they get the football to have that sort of physicality to get into the end zone. And I believe they need to show tonight that they can right the ship, and Joe Mixon is a large piece of that.
All right, I love it. Wait, did you go over? Well, you went over, and then you gave us Joe Mixon. It's good stuff. That's part of the course.
I didn't even know before it started what I
okay.
said.
Well, thank goodness for our producer, Mark Eisen.
That's why I went to the
All right, download the ESPN Bet app Sportsbook, claiming your new player bonus, and for a limited time, unlock access to 30 days of ESPN Plus to stream exclusive live sports. Sign up with promo code LIVE to get started today.
Let me get to my notes.
I look forward to that. Let's read and react some big performances on Sunday. We're going to start with Geno Smith. He ran for the game-winning touchdown as the Seahawks knocked off the 49ers on the road in San Francisco. Now, since becoming the primary starting quarterback in Seattle in 2022, Geno Smith now has 10 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter and overtime. He's clutch. That's tied for the second most with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in that time, trailing only Kirk Cousins 11. Mina, what did you like about the Seahawks from that big win on Sunday?
Yeah, so when Seattle hired Mike McDonald, part of the reason why I liked it was the success he had in Baltimore against Kyle Shanahan and his tree of offenses. Last night, guys, was the first time the Seahawks have held a Shanahan-led offense below 20 points since 2018, when Nick Mullins was the quarterback. Between this and I thought a very good defensive performance last week against Sean McVay's Rams, this is an excellent stretch, and it feels like a turning point for the Seahawks defense under Mike McDonald, who was brought in to beat these offenses.
How about Bo Nix, y'all? Okay, he continues to impress in his rookie season, throwing for 4 touchdowns in the Broncos' blowout win over Atlanta. The win puts Denver at 6-5 on the season, and in the playoffs, if the postseason started today, through the first 5 weeks of the season, Bo Nix had more interceptions than touchdowns, had the 4th lowest QBR in the league. But since week 6, Nix not only improved his completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdown to interception ratio, and total QBR, but they all rank top 10 in the NFL. Nix has vaulted to the 2nd shortest odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Dan, what stood out from him?
He's got control and he has the answers. Control of everything that they're trying to do in Denver offensively. The balls sometimes have to get checked down because the defense is playing way too deep. Great. And then sometimes they're going to give you an opportunity to drive it down the middle of the field, and it's a perfect throw. And then the answers. Defenses always give you questions. If we give you this, what are you going to do with that? And I think him having that consistent answer of what to do with the football is really starting to show up. Also, unbelievable job by Sean Payton and Davis Webb, who's their quarterback coach, because I think it's really cool that they've taken a lot of the old school principles that are staples for Sean Payton and no question morphed it with a lot of like the new age motions, formations, and schemes. Yeah. And it's a really cool offense right now to pay attention to in Denver.
You guys think Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Oh, Jaden Daniels has got company.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
Davis Webb is their quarterback coach, because I think it's really absolutely.
Man, a pretty cool draft class so far, those guys. We got a lot more coming your way here on NFL Live, and still to come when we return. Another heartbreaking loss for the Bears on Sunday. Was it the coaching that cost them the game in this one? We'll talk about that. Someone here didn't have a problem with it, but we'll explain that next.
This week on Sunday NFL Countdown.
Here's the same plan. You see, there's the running lane that Lamar wants, but they know to close that down.
Alex Smith throw me something in the air and let me make an adjustment to it. Brewski still cannot get to the ball because it's ball, body, defender. Travis Hunter going over 2 defenders. Ringo doing this right there. Breeze Lightning. Go Breeze Lightning.
Sunday NFL Countdown, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
And Monday Night Countdown comes your way tonight, getting you ready for Texans Cowboys. It all starts at 6 right here on ESPN and the app. Back to more of the action on Sunday. One of the more historical rivalries in all of football. Bears versus Packers in Soldier Field. Look at Caleb Williams getting ready to go. Of course, made the OC change. Let's see how it plays out. Third quarter.
He had to do that.
Go ahead, Dan.
He had to do that.
We watched this one at Marcus's house last night. We called Marcus's house a hotel.
Yeah, it was. It was a gorgeous house. Let's go to the final quarter. Thanks for having us, Swagoo.
Very well.
Jordan Love to Christian Watson.
Big play.
Was just Christian Watson had an incredible game.
If Christian Watson can stay healthy, he is trending towards being like a legit NFL #1 wideout.
Hey, Swag, he had some yak there. Look at him.
Full of that yak.
Full of the yak.
What a
gain
yak.
of
Feeling
60
good.
yards. Final drive of the game is where we go here. Now, Caleb Williams, it's 4th and 3.
Nice.
Great. Finding Roma Dunze.
Why not give the first round 6-foot+ wide receiver a chance in one-on-one?
Now, here's where it gets controversial, okay? Decision-making by Matt Eberflus. The Bears have the walk-off opportunity, but the kick is blocked. So just like the Chiefs last week, Green Bay steals a win. Thanks to special teams, Matt LaFleur and the Packers go to 7-3 on the season. Here's more from Eberflus on the decision-making at the end.
They were loading the box there, so you could say you could do that for sure, maybe get a couple more yards, but you also risk, fumbling and different things there. We felt where we were, if we're at the 36 or 35, you're definitely doing that because you want to get it inside there. I felt very confident where we were at that time with the wind and where we were on the field.
You see Caleb Williams' reaction. RC, any issues there with how the end of the game?
Hell yeah, I got issues. It's like the dude in the scary movie that's running from the dude that's walking, but you trip because you so damn scared he gonna catch
That
up.
always happens every time.
Yeah, like you can't do that. Like when you get into that position, you got there because your quarterback on 3rd and 19 made a huge play because he made a back shoulder throw on 4th and 3. He was getting rushed and hit Keenan Allen. Now find a way to get the extra yardage to continue to put the foot on the gas and not put yourself in harm's way. There are ways to do that, and great coaches find those ways in order to win game, and they don't play not to lose them.
Guys, it just didn't bother me much.
Really?
I mean, listen, you line up for a field goal. Obviously, we know you could try to get more yardage and make it an easier kick. It's a makeable field goal. Your kicker has a history of making those field goals.
I was going to say, though, the Packers, sorry to interrupt you, but the Packers
Mean
players
bad.
were all like, we knew he kicks low field goals.
Yeah.
I'm watching that thinking, oh, that's a well-coached team. They are prepared for this situation. They know this is coming, and they're going to do their best to block it. And it felt like that was a difference between the two teams.
I would disagree, Marcus. He's got a history of not making these field goals. Now, inside of 40, he's got a history of making them. There was a stat today I saw, like 100% inside of 40 yards.
But my mindset is this, bro. When you Matt Eberflus and you've been struggling anyway, right? And you thinking in your mind, I got a chance to win this game and walk off with a 46-yard field goal in the National Football League. And I get it. We sit here and we could talk about it today. But in that moment, you like, we can kick a field goal and win this game. I get all of the things that led up to it. But he's lining up for a 46-yard field goal to walk out of Lambeau Field with a win. And you just it get blocked. Denver felt the same way last week. It wasn't a bad decision to make. I just didn't really have a visceral reaction to it.
I just also think we've gone through this with multiple teams. The Denver Broncos, the Cincinnati Bengals early on in the season. Like at some point, we're going to have to start looking at what Dan Campbell does in Detroit and say sometimes being the aggressor works.
Yeah, we've seen that happen. Yeah, okay. Well,
3 out of every kick we've watched this year.
Here's the reality. Like, they have struggled, but there were some improvements yesterday with some of the changes. New offensive coordinator Thomas Brown calling plays. Caleb Williams kept throws short against the Packers. Nearly 75% of his throws were thrown less than 10 yards downfield. Williams also averaged his lowest time to throw in any game this season. Dan, did you see improvement from Caleb with a different OC?
That was Caleb's best game of the season and obviously best game of his career. One, way less robotic. Two, less programmed, just looser.
Yeah.
There was multiple moments when, again, a little bit like we've talked about with Josh Allen, it's not there, take off and run. You know, and you saw that be a huge part. Now, credit Thomas Brown, the new play caller, but I thought he was so much more decisive and faster when it came to nothing there, go. And that allowed him to play just freer. And when I say less programmed, less robotic, we didn't see plays like this where he just got outside pocket and showed, okay, this is why you were the number one pick. Take off. And we watched these very similar plays last week, and he was hanging in the pocket for 5 or 6 seconds. I was very much so. I think that's who Caleb Williams is going to be as a pro.
There was such a contrast last week between him and, Drake May, right? Because Drake was the one just cutting and running, and it felt like Caleb was a sitting duck back there taking sacks. I do wonder if Thomas Brown, new offensive coordinator for the interim, got in his ear and said, man, you're an athlete. Because they also called designed quarterback runs for him, and it felt like those got his juices flowing. They were calling zone read for him.
And they got the ball to DJ Moore a couple times.
Got the ball to DJ Moore.
They took a shot to Romo
and it's funny because
Dunze,
none of these things are like zone read, whatever. Screen to DJ Moore. On its face, those are not game-changing calls, but they are both things you can do to instill confidence in your playmakers.
Dan, you said something last week. Take the thought process away from him. And that's exactly what he did this game. The second quarter was the run that when I knew a different offensive coordinator and a different player. This was the decisiveness you talked about and you mentioned. But this one here is when Caleb has taken a sack on or made a mistake all season long. And you look at how confident he was to get outside of the pocket, to use the zone read scheme. This was Caleb Williams, USC. Give me some space. Don't give me a lot of options and let me go be a playmaker. Sometimes you think that you handcuffing. You created a playmaker by taking that thought process away from him, and we
weaponized
saw
it.
Yeah, exactly. You turned it into something that's advantageous for your football team.
I think what they did was tell him, when you go, go. Right? Like so many times we've seen Caleb, and he was able to do it at USC a ton. Have those 10-second plays where you scramble, you get outside the pocket, you can hang behind the line of scrimmage and push the football down the field. Every time he took off running, probably until about that 3rd and 19 play where he shrugs the guy off and makes the play to Romo Dunze, he was gone. He never tried to make the secondary play. I feel like they told him, if you don't have it right now, run and we'll snap the football again. And that took some of the thinking out of it for him, and it's just like good hoopers. You get layups, you get dunks, eventually the mid-range starts to fall, and you can hit a three-pointer. That's exactly how we saw his confidence grow.
When you hear Matt Eberflus talk about the end of the game and the things that can go wrong, I think that's an example of how Caleb has played. Caleb has played, hey, defensive-minded coach, just don't turn the ball over. We'll play good defense. We'll win with the kicking game, and they become cautious. And Thomas Brown absolutely freed him up with an aggressive mindset.
You saw some moments even at Soldier Field where the fans got involved yesterday. The excitement was brewing when the offense at times looked better. We'll see if they can build upon, even though it wasn't a win. All right, we said this. Last night we were at Swagoo's house. We were watching this game.
It's a big
Bengals
house.
Suffering another close loss. We were all screaming at the TV, probably just like you were at home. Is it time to throw in the towel on Cincy's season? Well, Marcus will explain why he thinks it is. The USA Today Sports Super 25 Girls Flag Football Rankings for Week 9. Orange Lutheran jumped up to the number 2 spot this week. They've been rock solid on both sides of the ball. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from their game last week versus Newport Harbor. Down 6 early in the half, quarterback McKenna Cook connects with freshman receiver Capri Cuneo. She won't go down. She almost takes it in for the score, but she is down at the 3. So then one play later, Cook showing off her shifty ability in the pocket. Look at that dodge in the rush, connecting with Ava Harrison for the touchdown. Later in the second half, Orange Lutheran flexing their defensive pedigree. Josie Anderson making a touchdown-saving play on 4th down, helping the Lancers hold on for the 20-18 win. So great to see. All right, Anthony Richardson showed a lot of fight in his return to the starting role against the Jets on Sunday, getting the win thanks to this touchdown run late in the 4th quarter. And prior to his benching, Richardson's 44% completion percentage was the lowest in the NFL. But against the Jets Sunday, he shined. He completed 67% of his throws, including going 7 of 9 on throws at least 15 yards downfield. His 75 QBR, his 3rd highest in any game in his career. Dan, what did you make of Richardson's return to the starting role?
Yeah, this was the best game of Anthony Richardson's career. The first play of the game said a lot to me. They called that designed quarterback run. Just gets him into the game. I've sat with so many different coaches who've had athletic quarterbacks, and they make it a point to understand, to get athletes like that kind of feeling the game, get them hit. And I think Anthony's one of those guys. So I loved that they did that with Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson. He threw the ball over the middle of the field fantastically. Yes. I think the trust in his eyes, and that kind of told me he's not worried about getting benched or making mistakes. The throw to Josh Downs earlier in the football game was a big deal. I just think he was so much more convicted with what he was looking at. And in RC, his feet were so much calmer in the pocket in comparison to maybe the start of the season.
Yeah, for me, he played like a young man that was free, that wasn't thinking about all the things he had to improve on during the game. And also some of the physicality that we saw from him in the red zone with the way that he ran the football is those things that we dreamed about watching Anthony Richardson do from a physicality standpoint. Yeah. And the throws you mentioned over the middle of the football field, being able to drive it. But to me, it was an intermediate route to Josh Downs early on in the game where he dives and catches the football, and I say, okay, Anthony Richardson has sat, and he actually has learned, and he's working to implement those things into his game.
And I think you also saw in games this season, there's been some egregious misses.
Yes.
Where you're like, man, that's not even the same time.
Like, you're not trying.
Correct.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of those yesterday. There was a lot of, even an incompletion was a close incompletion or a just off thing. And so I think if you just took a game plan of what you thought was going to be best for him, we saw that yesterday.
And the other big piece of it is this, too. Like, sometimes, and I'm not saying he wasn't taking it seriously, but sometimes you don't take it seriously enough.
Sure.
Sometimes you have those bad misses or bad plays, and you say, I'll get the next one.
Right.
They showed you that you might not have the next one. And he played with a great sense of urgency, and I believe that's why this team finds a way to win.
Think about one drive. I mean, that game-winning drive where he marches them down the field, that drive could be the turning point in his career, saying, okay, now you take off as being that star that they drafted him at the number 4
and not only a turning point in his career, the last time you played for this team, you tapped yourself out. Your first time back on the football field, you lead them for a game-winning drive that you finish yourself. That says a lot about the way you recover from adversity and the sort of leader you can be.
Great point.
Guys, the Colts are 5-6. They still have a 32% chance to make the postseason, according to ESPN Analytics. That would be a great story. Let's get to Chargers-Bengals. Sunday Night Football, and Justin Herbert getting ready to go, hosting Joe Burrow in this one. What a game. 3rd quarter, Bengals trailing 27-6, 4th and goal. Burrow says, we're making a comeback, finding Jamar Chase, getting it in for the touchdown. The Bengals now trail 27-13. Next Bengals possession, Burrow once again, he was just on fire in this game toward the latter part of the game. T. Higgins scores. Bengals now trailing 27-20 heading into the 4th. It's a game. First play of the 4th quarter. Herbert keeping it. He runs, but he fumbles the ball right here, and Geno Stone recovers it for the Bengals. Huge turnover. for the Chargers. So the Bengals with another opportunity. Burrow says, I'm going to make sure this counts, taking time and then connecting with Chase for the score. The game is tied at 27. Late in the fourth quarter, as Jamar Chase was on fire as well. Evan McPherson missing the 51-yard attempt. Game stays tied. So 45 seconds left. The Chargers with the ball. Herbert downfield. Ladd McConkey has stepped up so big for this Chargers team at midfield now. 2 plays later, Herbert once again to McConkey.
That throw there, buddy.
Unbelievable. The Chargers now in field goal range. Very next play, Herbert hands it off to J.K. Dobbins. He takes it into the end zone. The Chargers win 34-27. So many opportunities for the Bengals to win this game, but entering the season, the Bengals had the second highest percent chance to make the playoffs in the AFC, according to ESPN Analytics. But after losing the first 3 games of the season, their percent chance dropped to 36%. It now sits at just 14%. You see the graph there. Following losses to the Ravens and Chargers, Marcus, are the Bengals now done when it comes to their chances at the playoffs? And I say this as somebody, we've watched this Bengals team and we're like, oh my goodness, there's so many times this offense feels like they're championship caliber, and yet they can't win these games.
They're done, Boogie. They're done. And listen, we've seen, think about this, and we were talking about it last night at the house. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are playing like a Super Bowl offense.
Yeah.
When you look at it, it looked like 2 different teams. First half was not good by the Cincinnati Bengals. Second half was phenomenal. I felt like the Chargers were more responsible for how the second half went than Cincinnati. But when you look at the Bengals, and I can't help but go back to, it was a lot of things this offseason that they were dealing with. Joe Burrow obviously not being fully healthy throughout camp. Jamar Chase with his contract situation. T has been in and out of the lineup, and they still managed to be able to put a lot of points on the board. But sometimes they are the exact definition of football games come down to 2 or 3 plays a game. Literally the definition of it. So as hard as it is to say that, because they can score 35 at any time,
yeah,
I firmly believe that they are done. They too far down the totem pole at this point.
Part of me wants to point out that the offense was not, you said, as you said, but to emphasize, the offense was not good in the. I felt like Joe Burrow was really feeling the rush in the first half, and then he did miss the go ball to Chase. It was a pretty big miss late in the game, the fourth quarter. But I say that not to criticize Burrow, but to point out the margins for him are so small.
Mina, let me ask you this, because this is why, when you said that, do you think there's a sense of that offense that they playing do-or-die football every
100%,
possession?
100%.
Yeah.
No question.
And when I look
He
at
knows.
it's a terrible way to play football.
Yeah.
Like, every play seems like if we don't make this one, we lose, and it feels that way. They just fortunate enough to have a generational talent at quarterback and wide receiver to be able to convert a lot of those times.
It bums me out watching them last night, though, and seeing how good T. Higgins was and thinking they're probably not going to have T. Higgins on this offense anymore, because that feels so wasted.
And if T. Higgins had been healthy, how different some of these games would have been. The Bengals are 1-6 in one-score games this season. They're tied with the Jaguars for the worst record in the NFL. They've had the opportunities, but haven't been able to get it done. More to come here on NFL Live. We're glad you're with us on this Monday, leading into Monday Night Football. The Chiefs' undefeated run has come to an end. Why couldn't they close it out in Buffalo? here in Dallas and Arlington area. It's been a little rainy earlier, but look at the skies clearing. This week, the ESPN original series The Breakdown with Peyton and Belichick headed to the vault to examine the unstoppable Bang 8 pass play by 1990s Cowboys legends Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin. Check this out.
Troy Aikman, he had the best drop back of any quarterback out there. Under center, 5-step drop, off the plant, a Bang 8. The 8 routes to post, when it's called a Bang 8, that means you're going to throw it on time and quick. Not going to be a deep post. You got to throw it off the plant. When you can throw the Bang 8, that's hard for a defense to cover, I think.
Yeah, great execution. You hit it perfectly, Peyton. Hits on that back foot. The ball's out on time, and the corner now is outside in on the play. He has no chance to get over there. He's in the end zone.
Make sure to catch new episodes of The Breakdown with Peyton and Belichick. It's streaming now on ESPN+. We're getting closer to kickoff here in Dallas between the Texans and Cowboys coming your way in just a few hours. Now, the Texans certainly haven't played offensively, especially at the level that they had hoped this season. They feel like tonight could be a big opportunity to break out against the other team in their state. For the Cowboys, it's about pride at this point. We'll see how they can come out today with 18 players on the injury report, as Lisa Salters told you earlier today. So glad you're with us for another hour here on NFL Live. If you missed the first hour, remember we are a 2-hour show on Mondays, but it's okay because you can just stay with us for the rest of the time. Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, Ryan Clark, Dan Orlovsky. We got a lot to get to, you guys. Let's roll right with the Chiefs and Bills as we get you caught up on everything that happened in Week 11 on Sunday. Comes to a close tonight. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen going head-to-head, and we always know this will be fun. We start early in the second. The Bills with the ball. Josh Allen to Amari Cooper for 25 yards.
Unbelievable touch on that throw by Josh Allen. Understands all-out pressure. And how about the catch by Amari Cooper?
How about James Cook cooking, running it in for the 6-yard touchdown?
This play felt like a message to Kansas City's defense by the Buffalo offense and James Cook. We're here.
2 minutes, 53 left in the second. Chiefs in the red zone. Patrick Mahomes to Noah Gray, the 2-yard touchdown. So that means the Chiefs go up 14-13. Now the Bills took the lead on a field goal, looking to extend it in the fourth. Josh Allen does just that, finding Curtis Samuel.
Story of the game, crossers, bunches, stacks by Buffalo, making Kansas City constantly run sideline to sideline.
How would the Chiefs respond with the ball here under 12 to play in the fourth? Kareem Hunt up the middle for 17 yards.
Maybe he should have tried it more.
At the Bills 42. I know that worked pretty well. That's Swag slapping the table. He loves the run game.
Mahomes broken.
Right here, hitting Gray in the back of the end zone for the touchdown.
That's a sick play.
That was
Chiefs
nice, though.
Pulling within 2. Late in the fourth, 3rd and 9 for the Bills. Allen to Khalil Shakir, 10 yards, picking up the first down. The Bills at the Chiefs' 35-yard line. And later in the drive, Allen said, 4th and 2. I got this. I'll take this myself. 26 yards for the TD.
Keep him in the pocket, man.
We talk about Heisman moments. That's an MVP moment.
I was about to say you're giving him the Heisman, but you give him the MVP, though.
Yeah,
I like that.
They like the saying.
The Bills win 30-21. Entering Sunday, the Chiefs had the lowest point differential of any 9-0 team in NFL history. Now Kansas City hoping to become the first team since the 2006 Colts to be the NFL's final unbeaten team to win a Super Bowl. According to ESPN Bet, the Chiefs had the second shortest odds to win their 3rd straight title. Here's Patrick Mahomes after the loss.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it as fuel. I mean, like I said, it's a good football team, so nothing to hang your head on. I'm losing to them, but we feel like we can play better. So we'll get back to work and try to use this as a spark so that we can be a better football team in the end. And the undefeated thing was cool, but that's not our ultimate goal, so we'll keep building towards that.
Dan, let's start on the defensive side of things for Kansas City. It's been a really good unit throughout most of the season, but why was it different yesterday?
It's as disconnected a performance under Steve Spagnuolo that I've seen from this Kansas City Chiefs defense. The lack of communication, the being on different pages. They're playing man coverage often, and they do it just about as much as anybody in the NFL. But when Buffalo got into a little bit of a stack bunch concept or a little bit of emotion, even though teams have thrown this against Kansas City multiple times, they were just on different pages. And the, oh my gosh, panic moments I felt by the defense, like, oh, we're trailing guys or we're not passing things off. I haven't seen that from a Spags-led unit, and it made, I don't want to say it easy on Josh Allen and Buffalo because I want to credit them for the way that they got into those, but I don't think that version of the Chiefs defense was the one that we've seen through the great majority of Spags' career there, and certainly the past couple years.
Well, it's felt like for the last few years, Spags can just keep incorporating anyone, any young corner, anyone in the draft, no matter how late they take them, and nothing seems to change. This was the first time where I felt like, oh, the attrition is kind of hitting them on the back end. I hate to single him out, but Jalen Watson goes out, Najee Johnson comes in outside. Those 2 deep balls to Amari Cooper, both of them, he is asking him to press him at the line of scrimmage, and one of them, they sent an all-out blitz. That's a tough matchup for a young cornerback against Amari Cooper. And to his credit, it wasn't even bad coverage. It was just great throws and catches. But this defense, asks so much out of its corners. They press at a higher rate.
Don't you think
there's so much communication and disguise on the back end? And it feels like they're so young.
If I was an offense moving forward, playing Kansas City in the future, I'm now going to, in many ways, copy this stuff. Okay, we're going to get into stacks and bunches. We're going to change the picture on the defense, force them to communicate all that stuff, and then we're going to take our shots at them because they're not all McDuffie.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that
the
Kansas City's
other
got to watch.
thing is, too, though,
in games,
I feel like they're moving more and more into single high man this year than we've seen in other years. Where last year, even with L'Jarius Sneed, as good as he was, it was literally the split safety looks.
Where were the issues on the offensive side of the ball, though?
They can't block. Like, just offensively protecting Patrick Mahomes. You go back early in the game, I think, what was it, the third play, we have an interception, but there was pressure the entire day. And I did love what Sean McDermott did defensively by mixing up some of the looks you saw on the front. Sometimes it was a 4-man rush with the spy. We saw a 3-man rush with the spy where Bernard adds late. They were constantly throwing different things at the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line until the attrition took place, and now we saw them winning ones-on-ones outside like you saw with Von Miller. It was a masterful plan up front, but I thought the execution was next level.
Guys, I haven't been at this point in a long time. The Kansas City Chiefs need to be a run-first football team right now. And when you think about all of the big games that we watched them play, the run game has asserted itself in a major way in these Super Bowls, in these AFC championships, and winning championships. Kareem Hunt had 14 carries, right? And nobody bats an eye. Kareem Hunt should have had 20, 25 carries. You talked about defensively the plan that Buffalo put together. You know what kills a defensive plan? When you gutting them. They got to change something they're doing. Pat is making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes as well. Take some pressure off of him. You know on the outside, you got D-Hop, and you added him to the mix. Worthy is a rookie wide receiver. You got Travis Kelce. Right now, I feel like Andy Reid and this offensive staff is a little bit drunk on Pat Mahomes' name as opposed to doing what they do physicality-wise up
Here's
front.
the challenge with that is if you run it on first and get a yard or two, and you want to be disciplined to run it on second, and you only get a yard or two, now you're in the one place Kansas City you cannot be in.
But then
obvious pass situations with that left tackle.
But I also feel like this, based on what you said, right? We are playing horrible offensively right now. They are not good at passing the football.
I disagree with that.
Let me tell you why I think the Kansas City Chiefs lost the game against the Buffalo Bills. They got a beat on them offensively, right? Pat Mahomes made Pat Mahomes plays as to why this game was like this. If you look at the majority of this game, it was a lot of keeping him in the pocket. They wanted Patrick Mahomes to throw the football. That's what the Buffalo Bills wanted him to
give you this, like I think Buffalo multiple times we're playing man coverage, and we can strap you up.
Now, in what world did we think that would ever happen against the Kansas City Chiefs?
I get that.
In a world where they don't have people that's going to get open consistently and constantly. And honestly, think about Xavier Worthy going back to the Monday Night Football game. He stepped out of bounds 2 times on deep balls, and he's been missed twice as well.
He was so good in the beginning of the game, and then they
RC, I'm telling y'all, this needs to be a running football team and allow Pat to play action.
All right, Pat Mahomes was pressured on 46% of his dropbacks, his highest in a game since 2021. How about this? The tradition continues, okay, for the 1972 Dolphins team. Larry Zonka popping some champagne as the final undefeated team loses. His Miami team, the only team to go undefeated and win the Super Bowl. I love to see it, those guys getting the champagne going. All right, let's get Adam Shefter in here for some top stories. Adam, let's start with Daniel Jones being benched by the Giants. What can you tell us there?
Well, it looks like it's the end of the Daniel Jones era in New York, because not only did they bench him, but they made him the number 3 quarterback behind starting quarterback Tommy DeVito and backup Drew Lock. Clearly, the Giants have some concerns about that $23 million of injury guarantee in his contract that would come due if he couldn't be ready this offseason or at the start of training camp. And so they make the move to jumpstart the offense, and they hope that Tommy DeVito can bring a similar spark to their offense this year that he did last year when he won 3 straight games. Meanwhile, Nick Bosa, the 49ers defensive end, suffered a new hip injury yesterday that prevented him from finishing the game. Was not on the field during the end of the game when the Seahawks had the game-winning drive. It was a hip oblique injury. Clearly, that has to be problematic for the Niners, who have already had their fair share of injuries this season. And speaking of problems, we go to Jacksonville, where it is business as usual for now. Doug Peterson conducted his weekly press conference with reporters a short time ago, confirmed that Gabe Davis, their wide receiver, is out for the year due to a knee injury. But there was no news today involving the futures of Doug Peterson or the offensive coordinator, Press Taylor, or any of the coaches or front office members in Jacksonville. Everybody keeps waiting to see if and when Shad Khan, the Jaguars owner, will act. To date, nothing yet, but clearly Jacksonville, after the worst loss in franchise history Sunday in Detroit, is on watch.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. And Adam, you will keep us posted. More from Adam with news throughout this show as we get you ready for Monday Night Football here from Dallas. And when we come back, Lamar Jackson's struggles continue against Pittsburgh. Is it fair to put this loss on the reigning MVP? We'll dive into that. Stick around to find out what everybody here thinks about Lamar, specifically when he faces the Steelers. That's next.
When you order Domino's online, we'll give you a free pizza to use in the future. So you'll have an emergency.
bust it up when we get down here.
He's busting it up.
Why they got to run it like 5 times?
Because it gets better as we go. By the way, Dan busted up Marcus's whole fridge last night.
Man,
this man ate you out of house and home. That's crazy.
That chicken fried rice was so good. Aisha, Marcus's wife, was like, man, what are you?
He even went and got the cotton candy grapes.
Oh, the cotton candy grapes.
Those are so phenomenal.
They are, but leave them alone.
They had a grilled chicken breast sushi, fried rice, cotton candy grapes.
The chicken, the barbecue chicken.
The barbecue chicken.
I was eating off the
He
bone.
went in the pantry and found candy.
Halloween candy. You got anything sweet and then disappeared.
All right.
And came back with a bag of Halloween candy.
Marcus,
house is lovely.
It's great. Marcus, who besides Dan ate on Sunday?
I wanted to go with a performance, but I went with a play. Did y'all see T.J. Watt hammer Derrick Henry? This is a true definition of bust that, and I don't know who in the world drew up a play not to block T.J. Watt, but ultimately Derrick Henry had to be like, what the hell? I would have shut it down. I would have walked off the field. Shout out to number 90 and this Pittsburgh Steelers defense for what they did, but this is the literal definition of busting that. And he was on a 250-pound man.
And for me, it's Justin Herbert. This isn't a guy that I think we've talked about enough this season. He's playing the game differently. He has a moxie. He has an emotion. But we all knew what he could do throwing the football. Those 2 big passes to Ladd McConkey late in the game to put them in position to win with the J.K. Dobbins touchdown. He also rushed the ball for 65 yards. And we want to see him stand across from guys like Joe Burrow and ball. We saw it last night.
Moxie's such a great word. Christian Watson, 4 targets, 4 catches, 150 yards. What struck me about this performance, I think coming out of college, we thought, okay, Christian Watson, go balls, he can separate, he's got straight line speed, but these were high degree of difficulty catches on the crossers. The one into double coverage, that late adjustment he makes to catch the football, not easy. And then on the crosser, as we've shown the other one a couple times, I mean, he just lays out for that and then makes this incredible play after the catch as well.
Shout out to Brian Gutekunst.
Yeah.
Man, Tua. Tua's realistically like a penalty away from being 3-0 since he's come back. We've seen him get outside the pocket and make some plays, getting the ball to Tyreek Hill. It's nice to see him back involved in their offense, finding Jonnu Smith. Dude, 4-6. They're back in the mix. The AFC's not very good this year. And Tua's got a little bit of like FU to him right now.
I got something
Easy schedule.
He got a little, what you got?
I was just about to say, it is crazy. He's playing more free.
Yeah.
Since the conversation
he
of
missed the throw yesterday to Tyreek in the corner. He laughed about it.
I'm telling you,
that's different.
I think the conversation revolving around should he play probably clicks up in him and said, I need to stop being nice.
We were talking before about quarterbacks you want that's got that dog in them a little bit. And I mean, maybe he's getting a little bit more of that. All right, let's read and react with some of the latest. There's the dog. Dan's the dog. All right, Sunday's top performers. We start with Bo Nix. You guys, he threw for 4 touchdowns in the Broncos' blowout win over Atlanta. And through the first 5 weeks of the season, Bo Nix had more interceptions than touchdowns, had the 4th lowest QBR in the league, but since then it's been a turnaround. Week 6 and on, Nix not only improved his completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdown to interception ratio, and total QBR, but they all rank top 10 in the NFL. He's also second shortest odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. RC, what'd you like from the Broncos rookie?
Oh, what I like about him is that the offense has progressed as Bo Nix has allowed it to. When we go all the way back into the preseason, this looked like Oregon's offense, the way that they ran zone read, gave him opportunities for RPOs. And then week by week, I feel like Sean Payton has added more to his plate without taking away some of the concepts and some of the things that make him comfortable. And he's executing that at an extremely high level while starting to push the football down the field. Not a lot, but at least a little more.
Let's talk about Jared Goff throwing 4 touchdowns of his own Sunday. The Lions putting up 52 points in their win over the Jaguars. We talked about the Jaguars side of that, but how about the Lions side and exactly what Goff did? Lions' 46-point win over the Jaguars is their largest in franchise history. Detroit also set franchise records for total yards and first downs. Sunday was the Lions' 4th game this season with more touchdowns than incompletions. The most such games by any team in a season since 1933. Dan, how impressive was that offense?
8 first downs.
Hang on.
What?
I think the Lions just scored again.
Oh.
They did whatever they wanted. First of all, they ran another hook and ladder. That's the second time that Ben Johnson on first down, they ran any kind of run they wanted to at Jacksonville. The multiple versions of play action pass that Jared Goff hit. Jameson Williams looked like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson combined. I mean, this offense yesterday did quite literally whatever it wanted, whenever it wanted. Jared Goff, maybe back into that MVP conversation.
Also,
guys
too,
down.
they be beating folks like you do when you like a Power 5 team.
Yeah.
You got to pay them people to come play you to fill the schedule.
Or like the way you
It's like a non-conference.
Yeah. Points matter.
Yeah, like
turning people into cupcakes. Okay, Anthony Richardson returned to the starting role this week after spending 2 weeks on the bench, and the second-year quarterback had his best game of the season, capped by a game-winning touchdown run that you're seeing right there. Now, prior
this
to
is called
his benching,
the tackling tape did not work.
Yeah, oops. And, that quarterback's big and hard to take down. He had the 44% completion percentage, lowest in the NFL prior to the benching, but since, and then again on the Jets on Sunday, he shined. He completed 67% of his throws, including going 7 of 9 on throws at least 15 yards downfield. Mina, what'd you like from Richardson?
I liked a lot out of this game. The poise, the confidence, playing quickly in the pocket. But on this final drive was so impressive to me. I mean, he has to go ahead with just 2 minutes, 40 seconds left. He hits the whole shot to Pierce. That ball comes out quick. Then the quick hitting play action post to Downs, another great throw. And then, of course, as Anthony Richardson can do, bullies his way into the end zone. That drive, to me, might be the single most impressive drive I've seen from Anthony Richardson in the NFL. This is a great restart for him this cold season.
I think the conviction that he played with is the biggest thing. Trusting his eyes. And his eyes, so often this year, his feet looked so disconnected. He trusted his eyes. It gave him calmer feet, and you saw the talent.
Maybe a little bit more confidence there from him. We'll see if he can build on that. Up next, after a close loss, is it safe to say, I'm sorry, Dan, they're your team of destiny this season?
I'm so freaking mad at this
The
place.
Bengals season isn't over. Well, Marcus says it is. Find out why next. We'll discuss as the Chargers got a massive win on Sunday night. More from AT&T Stadium after this, right here on ESPN. Arriving here on crutches, out for the season with that hamstring injury. Still trying to be a very supportive part of this group, but certainly part of the Cowboys story as they are dealing with many injuries. Adam Shefter back with us to get us ready for everything going on tonight on Monday Night Football between the Cowboys and Texans. Adam, let's start with an update that's a good one for Houston on Nico Collins.
He's full go for tonight, Laura. After missing the past 5 games with a hamstring injury, there are no restrictions on Nico Collins going into tonight's game. And when he's out there and he's healthy, which he appears to be, he is as good as any wide receiver in the league. But he is full go for tonight, and that is good news for C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense. As for CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys wide receiver who was added to the injury report over the weekend after he experienced some back tightness during practice, he is expected to play tonight. Mike McCarthy said despite the fact that they listed him on the injury report, it was not of high concern. And like Nico Collins, CeeDee Lamb is expected to be out there tonight in Dallas. Meanwhile, lots of chatter about Bill Belichick fueled by the idea that he was spotted last week in Dallas. People there did a double take when they saw him there, and many wondered if it had something to do with the Cowboys. Well, it can be confirmed. Belichick was in Dallas last week for a previously scheduled speaking engagement. However, league sources continue to connect him to the Cowboys job, and it wouldn't surprise anybody if he's one of Jerry Jones's top candidates this offseason if and when Mike McCarthy's contract expires with the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that and so much more tonight. Adam, enjoying that entire Monday Night Countdown crew. They get you ready for Texans and Cowboys. It all comes your way at 6 Eastern on ESPN and the app. More action from Sunday. Seahawks 49ers. Christian McCaffrey getting ready to go, trying to sweep their division rival, the Seahawks. And we'll pick it up late in the first quarter. Brock Purdy showing off that running ability there, Dan, putting the Niners on the board.
This has become a staple of his game in their offense this season, partly because he needs to, some of the injuries, but his ability to make back-breaking runs is a huge story.
Fast forward to the fourth quarter. Seahawks down 4. Geno finds Jackson Smith-Njigba. Critical third down.
Jackson Smith-Njigba is becoming a difference maker for this offense.
Now Geno says, I'm going to show off my running ability, picking up the first down. He wasn't done yet. 20 seconds remaining in this game, trying to get a huge win for the Seahawks. They're on the doorstep. Geno said, I'll do it myself.
What a run. What a drive by Geno Smith once again. Sees the defense part. There's that drop by the defense, zone coverage-wise, the seam, and no one accounting for his legs.
We showed you earlier how clutch Geno has been in some of those late-game moments. But as for the 49ers, entering the season, San Francisco had the highest % chance to make the playoffs, according to ESPN Analytics. San Francisco has not been more than a game above or below 500 all year, has seen their playoff chances decrease throughout the season. Sitting at 5-5 after Week 11, the Niners have just a 27% chance to make the playoffs. Mina, what issues did you have with the 49ers yesterday?
Yeah, so 25% of Brock Purdy's throws were into tight windows in this game. Highest mark of the season. On the season, he has the 3rd highest tight window throw rate in the NFL. Brock Purdy, the San Francisco 49ers, which is wild, right? Thinking about this offense. Like, it's great that Juwan Jennings makes these tough catches on 3rd down, but it's also not great that he has to make all these tough catches on 3rd down. There's a litany of reasons for that. You really see how the fact that the Niners used to field an all-star team is a big part of why guys were so wide open, because defenses had to be compromised. Now, not so much. They can hone in on 1 or 2 players, and I think you're really seeing that that is the difference between this Niners offense and the one last year.
And you also look at this team yesterday playing without George Kittle, who's a huge piece of the way that you see Kyle Shanahan scheme up some of those wide-open play-action passes. And on the back end for the Seattle Seahawks, I think this defense is really coming along and starting to be something that Mike McDonald envisioned that it could be, whether it's Witherspoon or Tariq Woolen on the outside. Also bringing in Josh Jobe, who wasn't even on this team. That's now become a big part of what they do. I thought they made it extremely tough on the San Francisco 49ers all day, and I love the twist of matching up defensive backs on Christian McCaffrey in 3rd down situations.
Of course, Witherspoon muscles his way in, tips the ball, and ends up getting picked by Jonathan Hankins. First career pick, over 300-pounder. We love it.
Hey, big man. Maybe a little allude to something coming later on.
Wow.
Let's see. Okay. 49ers now have 3 division losses, all while leading in the final 2 minutes of regulation. More on Sunday night. Bengals Chargers. Justin Herbert seeing the Bengals and Joe Burrow. Third quarter, Bengals trailing 27-6. They get right back in this thing, Dan.
Hey, man, Marcus got so mad when the Chargers brought all-out pressure on Jamar Chase there. Man, what are you doing?
Next Bengals possession, Burrow launching it deep to T. Higgins, who scores.
Yeah, they double moved the safeties, though. That's a gutsy call and a fantastic throw.
So the Bengals now trailing just 27-20 heading into the fourth. First play of the fourth quarter, Herbert keeps an opportunity to make something happen here, but he fumbles the ball, and Geno Stone recovers it for the Bengals. Huge turnover there for the Chargers. Ensuing Bengals drive, unbelievable. Burrow with time and connects with Chase for the score.
I have such anger that we're not going to see this combo in the playoffs. I have such anger about it.
No doubt.
Dan, we weren't sure. You haven't talked about it enough. All right, Evan McPherson, an opportunity there. He misses a 51-yard attempt. The game stays tied. 45 seconds left. Chargers with the ball. Herbert just goes nuts to Ladd McConkey on this particular drive. Connecting there. They're at midfield. 2 plays later, Herbert once again connecting with McConkey for the first down.
What a big-time throw by Herbert under pressure.
All right, so the Chargers in field goal range, but it doesn't really matter because J.K. Dobbins says, I'll take that to the end zone. The Chargers win 34-27. Here's Jim Harbaugh after.
It'll be onto the Ravens now. That's my thought is we got the right guys at the right time. And I think I think guys in the locker room believe that deep down. And if they haven't, then if they weren't sure or they weren't convinced, I would present this as Exhibit A to them.
Okay, and by the way, that game, Chargers-Ravens, Monday Night Football next week, the Harbaugh brothers going against each other. We'll be there.
So far.
Dan, how did the Chargers offense get it done?
What I've been asking them to do, Dan.
Marcus has for years been asking the Chargers to do what?
Move your quarterback.
And that is a massive part of not only what happened last night, but really the story for their offense this year, right? It's, shocking to see sometimes they're designed runs. I think a part of it is another example of freeing the quarterback up to say, hey, you're a big, freakish athlete. If nothing's there, and I think part of it is teams want to defensively play man coverage against the Chargers because they don't fear their skill guys.
Yep.
And so Justin's like, well, I'll go hurt you. The second thing is, and I'm telling defenses from now on, you're hearing it first, you better find ways to cover this kid, okay? If you don't like the matchup, playing 15, Ladd McConkey man-to-man, you can't cover him. You can't call it, He can win versus man coverage, so you better be darn sure that you got a guy or a scheme that when you're playing man, you can cover him. Because if you can't, he's going to Wes Welker your face off. He's going to win,
I like that.
I looked at this second half, Dan, and it's almost like.
What? He's not Wes Welkering?
We got to stop that. We got to stop the colorism. It doesn't matter that Ladd McConkey is white. Ladd McConkey don't play like no Wes Welker. He don't play like no Danny Amendola. He don't play like none of those people that played the slot. He's Emmanuel Sanders. That sort of quickness.
Yeah.
That way, the way that he gets in and out of routes, being able to make tough catches like we saw over Mike Hilton late in that game. Absolutely. That's a guy we drafted in the 3rd round the same year that we drafted Antonio Brown, and he made scout team hell for 2 years.
Hold on, can't you let us white guys have the slot, though?
No. We're actually better at that, too. Y'all just had like 4 of them. Like, what are you doing?
No.
Can I talk
I'm glad that you busted in for that. Hey, go ahead.
Can I get my analysis, please?
Yes.
All right, I'm glad y'all got
Everybody
that worked
stay
out.
up here. Go ahead.
I felt like the first half, right? We watching the game at the house. That 3-point shooter was hot as fire.
Yeah.
They came out of the second half drunk on it, though. And I wanted to see the chart. We've talked about this team for years not being able to finish games. I love the run by J.K. Dobbins at the end of the game. Yeah. But I thought they should have went to the run game a little bit more in that second half just to help Justin Herbert. Not be non-aggressive. I felt like they were a little bit too aggressive in that second half and almost gave Cincinnati an
They're not a
opportunity to
good
win
rushing
this game.
team, though. This is like the Chargers. This is a misperception. People think they're good at running the football. I'm telling you, until that last run, he was getting stuffed.
They break some runs late in the game. I think in the second half, the Bengals really played man coverage, and it worked a decent amount. It's just that Ladd ended up wearing them out when it mattered the most.
Hey, if you guys want to really think about the turnaround already that Harbaugh has brought there, the Chargers now have a 95% chance to make the postseason. A huge game, like we mentioned, next week on Monday night against the Ravens. More to come with my favorite people here on NFL Live after this. When we come back, the Ravens did come up short in a huge division game against the Steelers. Dan talks about one concerning thing he's seen from Lamar that he hasn't seen The game with just 13 touches, tied with week 1 against the Chiefs for his second fewest in any game this season. The Ravens now 0-3 when Henry records 13 or fewer touches this year compared to 7-1 when he had more than 13. Here's Lamar Jackson on the loss.
I believe, we had a lot of slow starts. If anything, a lot of penalties, 3 turnovers, stuff like that we can't have in these type of games. This environment, knowing it's a divisional game, that's still a Raven rivalry. It's the one who have more possession of the ball and keeping it safe. And we didn't do a good job at that. I was hot about that. Our defense played great today, man. They held a great team, great offense to
the picture
18
up for
points.
Josh Allen, and it made it difficult
points.
to pass off some of these routes.
That was like my biggest takeaway from the game when it comes to Kansas City's defense. I haven't seen.
Mina, let's start with a closer look at that 2-point conversion. RC said earlier, like 77 other play calls other than the one that they did go with. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I didn't love it. I think
this
to
is
put
Lamar
it
making a
simply,
play. It's
the
third
reason
and
why the
long.
Ravens are normally so dangerous in short yardage is because you're worried about multiple things.
Yes.
You're worried about Lamar Jackson keeping it. You're worried about Lamar Jackson throwing it. You're worried about Derrick Henry. Sometimes more than Derrick Henry. Sometimes you'll have 2 backs there. In this case, they only gave him one thing to worry about, which was Lamar Jackson keeping it, and then the pullers didn't get across because Nick Herbig blew up the play, so it had no chance. So I didn't love that, but I do want to say this. I'm not panicking
no
about the
regrets
Ravens.
to get in the
Listening
ring
to
one
Lamar
last
talk
time.
about this
I
game, I
almost
found
died
myself
in
nodding in
June,
agreement.
had
I mean, think
8
about
blood
it. They spotted Pittsburgh
Do
6
I
points
believe
with
it
2
was
missed
something
field
that-
goals,
that
another 6 points off of
scared
those turnovers,
looking
which
at him and-
Pittsburgh forced those, and they
Fan
lost
of the
by
show,
2.
but
And their defense just put up the best performance of the
And
season.
Nate Robinson
So
opened his mouth.
it's a tough loss in a big game, but
I know this might be a
Well, they
homer
need
thing.
to. I mean, when are you going to get it together?
Uh,
We got a Texas showdown.
Yeah,
he played well.
For this team.
Yeah,
You're not worried about
Homer. That's true.
You're not worried about Baltimore unless they have to play Pittsburgh.
Well, which
or Kansas City.
they may have. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean,
We're
those
just
are the
getting
2 teams that Lamar seems to struggle against, as we've noted. Dan, Lamar had
and-
his second worst game of the season when you look at
And at the number
QBR.
four.
And not
What was
only a
that?
turning point
He
in
got
his career,
stuck.
the last time
And
you
for
played
some
for this
reason,
team,
he
you
would
tapped
just get
yourself
so
out.
stuck
Your
on
first
that
time back on the
initial first
football
read. He's
field,
done such
you
a
lead them
remarkable
for a
job, really,
game-winning
over
drive
the
that
past
you
couple years, but certainly this
For the
season, again,
Bengals,
from 1 to 2
huge
to 3.
turnover.
This is a flat route.
Plays
Deontay
later.
Johnson
Herbert,
at the
once
bottom
again,
of the screen, man-to-man, okay? Deontay breaks his route up and going to the
So
sideline.
small.
Lamar,
From
just
some
take
of
your
these
check
games
down.
have been.
The curl route didn't win, but he holds, and he forces the ball down the sideline and to a unlikely completion. Okay, now this is the seam at the top. Okay, that
Yeah, it was.
Leslie
It was
Gore
just how that-
inside and the safety at the top of the
And here's where it
screen is
gets
playing over the top.
controversial.
Lamar, you should easily just reset and float
That
this
is
ball to space.
Go.
To Mark
And
Andrews. But he just
This
throws
game,
it out
the
there
second quarter was-
uncharacteristically of himself.
line of scrimmage and-
He peeks to the top of the screen.
where
It's
the
not there.
fans
Great.
got involved.
Get to the backside double slant. Joey Porter Jr. is just all over this inside slant. That ball should go to Bateman. This is just like I'm just going to throw it here. This is, or take off. This is one of those seams that RC mentioned before there. That's an easy run. Forcing the football. Andrews up top has got a widened release and then likely up to the very top of the screen.
Players
Joey
were all
Porter
like,
Jr. is
we knew it
overlapping.
takes.
They know this throw's coming. Lamar, just reset to number 2 or number 3 and get a check down.
Defense
That's
that
an
moving
impossible
forward
throw. And
throughout
so
this
there was
darkness,
multiple
the
moments of him
defense.
just, okay, there's the slant up top. Lamar, take off and run. It's man or throw the flat. Do something
quarter in
other
overtime.
than just force
He's
this
clutch.
throw.
That's tied for the
It's
best.
a tight man coverage
18.
where it's going to get batted down. That is so
Low Nick.
unlike Lamar this season, where he was just saying, I'm throwing the ball to that guy no matter what. And he just was unsettled and stuck on the guy that he was thinking about initially.
I think some of it goes back to what Mina said in the first hour. On some of those plays, he was hunting the big play on Deontay and the second movement in that route. Instead of going to the check down, he thought he could hit it over the top. And some of it, too, is not allowing yourself to just be who you are, to be authentically you, which is, I'm the best athlete on this field no matter who we play. If I have a seam, if I have an opportunity to create a play with my legs, that's what allows us to be different from every other offense in the NFL. And I did feel like not only did he get stuck, he overthought some of the things that have been extremely natural to him this year. And obviously, I believe Lamar Jackson will get back to who he is, but yesterday was a huge miss for him and his ball club.
He's now 1-4 in his career against the Steelers. That's tied with his worst regular season record versus any single opponent. So, yeah, those Steelers do give him some trouble. Marcus, what's next on the show?
Know what time it is, man. I think, honestly, y'all, we have the greatest BMB play in the history of the segment when it started. My man, Willie Miles, and it's dear to my heart because he's from Southern University, which is located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I grew up going to college football games. One of the greatest, if not the greatest HBCU in the world. Willie Miles, thank you for this. I made a call and you answered, and I cannot wait to show you your love, big dog.
Willie Miles still looks tired.
In games this season, there's
At 11:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Bring in the new year, BMB.
Do you guys love it or what?
best athletes on the football field. We are blessed with the hand of God. BMB! BMB! We do this for the money.
Won't stop till I get me a bag.
I'ma name him Himothy Johnson III. Oh, that belly give us a little extra cushion. Scabini. BMBs for life. Yeah! Ride the pony, baby! Drinks on me, club on me. We be tired, but we be ballin'.
Man, I'm big, I'm bad.
I cannot explain to you how much of an honor it is to do BMB right here where I was a BMB in AT&T Stadium. But let me get to it because the big fellas got to it. First and foremost, we going Hankins from the Seattle Seahawks. I know y'all saw the big fella tips and overthrows. We got to get those. Shout out to Witherspoon for putting us in this position. But if you throw the lob, we will dunk it. My dog Hankins went up and got it. And this is what you call running to the ball. Everybody think we'd be out of shape. No, he's on his way to make a tackle. But he ends up with the football because that's what BMBs do. It's like an attractant. It's like our scent attracts the football. Secondly, Chase Young. This is absolutely phenomenal. I don't even know what happened. You were supposed to be in the game. The other dude wasn't supposed to be in there. But I'm going to just run in there since they need me. And I'm a BMB, and I'm going to go get a TFL. Because we can read and react while we on the move. That's what we've had to do our whole life. We've had to avoid little spaces and fit through them because we BMBs. That's what Chase Young did. And last but not least, this is the greatest BMB that you will ever see in your life. My dog, Willie Miles. It's a forced fumble by another BMB. But look at Willie pick up this football and get busy. And did he not hit a full stretch on his way to the end zone? Here's what I want you to see.
That boy growing.
Flexibility is a key component to the type of athletes we are. And my man Willie Miles displayed that. And you damn
done
right.
For the game.
When we make a play, find us a bench, find us an oxygen mask, and let us chill. Willie Miles, you have made BMB, and this is absolutely going on the BMB Wall of Fame. Shout out to SU, them Jaguars.
All right. Willie, he's on that BMB Mount Rushmore right there. Come on back, Swagoo.
He got
and
some
what a
booby
cool
miles
thing
in him.
to do that right here where you were a BMB, like you said it, inside AT&T Stadium. About 3 hours to kick off on Monday Night Football between the Texans and the Cowboys. And the Texans are getting a huge boost tonight with Nico Collins, their star wide receiver, making his return from his hamstring injury. He told me this week he is 100%, no limitations in the game plan. He did say that he hopes for maybe a shorter completion, get his feet wet again. He says he hopes to get hit actually early, not too hard, but that helps him feel like he's back into the plan. Something that happened on practice this week for the Texans on Thursday is they really had a nice offensive drive, a few really great throws from C.J. Stroud, some great catches from Nico and the rest of the offense. And D'Amico Ryans pulled footage from that practice on Thursday, wanted to show this team a highlight reel of their own practice. C.J. Stroud said it helped with some of the confidence. They've lacked a little bit in this offense. They felt like they haven't clicked the way that they wanted to, but getting Nico back is a huge boost.
Look at my chair.
We need to lower you down a little bit.
No,
what
man,
happened? You're up high. Look
you
how much higher you are than Mina.
Hey, you know what you look like? John Coffey. Like
hey,
that smell to see.
You're up there on the 10th floor. Take it down to like the 8th floor. See if that thing will lower down a little bit, go down the elevator.
Y'all are the same species.
It looks like stepbrothers, but it's not. Somehow they are the same species.
In a lot of ways.
Nico Collins makes his return. What do you think that does for this Texans offense and C.J. Stroud specifically?
Yeah, I think the first thing is if the Dallas Cowboys practice nearly as much as their cheerleader and cheerleader alum practice, they'd be winning more games.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. Secondly, I talked to CJ about Nico, and he talked about the confidence that he has in Nico, but how much easier he makes playing offense for him. And we've been seeing how much the pressure has started to affect him. Think about the way Nico's able to catch the deep ball down the field, but also the intermediate routes in between the numbers where we see CJ excel in on-time play. I think that'll be big for this team, but more importantly, their young quarterback tonight.
I'll be quick. Ryan, is the Cowboys defense good at defending play action?
No.
Which quarterback wide receiver pairing do you think was the best in the entire NFL at play action last year?
Them.
Yeah.
Them.
They know what to do. And the best way to get out of third down, which is the only really chance I think the Cowboys defense has, is Micah Parsons to tee off is to never get into third down. So there's a real opportunity here for the Texans to get back on track.
Yeah, specific to this game, I think this Houston defense absolutely chokes out Dallas's offense, right? This defensive line and this coverage unit. But I will be very interested in paying attention to how this offensive line in Houston looks.
Yeah.
Been very critical of them since week 1. I actually thought they were a lot better versus Detroit on Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago. Can they do it again? Or excuse me, Sunday Night Football. Can they do it again? I was so encouraged by how that unit played and specifically the interior of that. If they can get that, then I'll start taking them a little bit more seriously on this back end of their playoff run.
It was the first time I saw a D-line handle the Detroit Lions, and that was the Houston Texans D-line, which you mentioned. I think they're going to be hell tonight. Danico Autry moving in those different areas, moving outside to inside. Daniil Hunter has been rushing his face off, just not finishing in sacks. So I'm interested to see this part of the game. The Dallas Cowboys hadn't been able to run the football all season long. The Houston Texans have 3 of who I believe the better rushers in the NFL has to offer when you start talking about how they can generate pressure. I'm sure D'Amico Ryans is saying, guys, with 4, we can affect Cooper Rush and Macy Jordan. I think this pass rush takes over this game early and often.
When it comes to that O-line, C.J. Stroud said he's looking in the mirror, pointing the finger at himself. He said at times he's made decisions that's put the O-line in bad position and that they haven't been able to hold on as long as he would like to see it. That ownership, a big part of his leadership. All right, let's make our picks. Go ahead, Dan. Who are you taking?
Houston by a lot.
Okay.
I'm with Dan.
I would love to come to Dallas and take the Cowboys for the first time ever.
It's a clean sweep.
It's a clean sweep. So hopefully,
and I ain't scared.
Hopefully that curse matters for real.
There you go. That's when you want the curse to
Laura
be on your
didn't
side.
pick the game because she's working tonight.
I'm on the game, so I can't pick the game. Otherwise, I would probably pick the game.
I know who you would pick.
But you don't have to say that.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow on NFL Live. Enjoy the rest of the night here on ESPN and over on ABC as Monday Night Football takes center stage.